turn the collective against you and ensure you never get a more free society.
That's prevalent, though. That's prevalent not just
the
Libertarian Party, but the Republican Party.
Well, it all is in the Republican Party. It's like 90% of that.
But my issue is, like, we already built the beast. The beast is there. You can't get rid of the beast no matter what you do, because the collective, the entirety of the population wants this. I mean, there's people that are going to be against it. There's like Libertarians against it, Republicans against it. But anybody that works a job like that wants that.
No doubt. And I get, and you do bring another interesting question up. I'd like to hear what Spangle thinks about this. Is so, in this situation, the minimum wage, really, it's inflation that's killed minimum wage. If you factor out inflation when the time instituted it, you're looking at $22 an hour, and then nobody has any issues at all. Inflation's the great killer of minimum wage. But in this scenario, what kind of government system is right? What if instead of any of the social programs and the social systems, there's just a minimum citizen's income that you get as choosing to join this state, and the state's competing for you to be a part of it, as opposed to all these programs and all the feel-good stuff and the social engineering?
If you want to do that, fine, but it has to be a voluntary system. I mean, you have to opt in. My view on cities is buy snowplows. What do I care? If citizens want to get together and pay taxes to buy snowplows and pave roads in Indianapolis, great. But the citizens of Franklin and Frankfort and Plainfield and Greenwood should not be having to pay for that through state tax dollars or federal tax dollars. If I don't want to live in a place that has taxes, I can go move outside of Indianapolis. And it makes it, I have never really heard or thought about the argument of, what about the people born into that system? But, you know what? They can move if they don't like it. The problem it comes in is when it's force. As long as it is a totally voluntary system, you can do that if you like. Let's say you want to make Indiana that sort of state where everybody, like in Alaska, where oil profits give every citizen a certain dividend for their existence. Now, obviously, we've not seen a mass. We see people move to Alaska, but it's pretty cold there. The problem is that if you hold yourself out and it becomes successful, then the system collapses in on itself. It's not a sustainable system. That's the problem with the welfare leviathan of any shape or form. No matter how you parse it out, it becomes too... bureaucracy doesn't work in any form that you want to make it.
Could we compromise?
Sure.
Let's say, I want the $15 minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, in return for the $15 minimum wage, because this would help people get off welfare, we make across-the-board cuts on welfare, we make across-the-board cuts on taxes. For these companies to pay that minimum wage, I would cut their corporate taxes by as much as 30 to 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the money they get back where the government's not taking it. I'm essentially neutralizing the force. I'm saying, okay, we have to give them $50 an hour because they can't survive on it, but as a return for you doing this, your taxes are going to be lower. We're going to cut some programs out of our bureaucracy. And I think that across the board, that appeases at least most things, right? Like, I'm cutting your taxes as a business owner. I'm saying we don't have to have this huge bloated government doing all these programs for you. And at least the people, like this maelstrom of people, which is the people in Baltimore, which is the people like in Franklin or wherever that's on this economic, maelstroms. And this helps them. And that's what Bernie's probably going to be running on as well. Is like this populace, like, hey, dude, there's not a lot of people making like $45,000 a year, but there's a lot of people like slaving away in McDonald's. And these people are essentially his bread and butter, and he's going to hit on that economic issue. But, you can't just add the minimum wage up there without taking things back and scaling the government back.
I don't know. To me, it just seems like such if you're isolating this one specific idea, it's a symptom. It's not attacking the problem. I mean, we're Andy Horning talks a lot about this, where we're not attacking the root of the problem. We're attacking the symptom of the problem. The problem is that the minimum wage is not too low. It's that the economy that the government has set up through things like the Federal Reserve, through
that's the real
banking, that is the root. And somebody like Bernie Sanders say, the minimum wage, blah blah blah. and that will help him get votes. But at the end of the day, he's trying to attack the root with things like the Federal Reserve and the inflationary policies that they have.
I mean, that's even a harder pill to swallow. It's like in the history of modern nations, there's not been a country that hasn't had a centralized monetary system. I mean, there's from Libya to France to England to China to Japan. There's a centralized monetary system. Okay,
then put the Fed in charge of keeping the money from being inflationary, and get rid of the mandate on the Federal Reserve where they have to keep unemployment low.
That if you strip if you strip the second charter, it's about price stability, and then it operates on a totally different set.
Can we not just return it to the Treasury? You know, if we can just return all that function to the Treasury and redo the Treasury Department.
You cannot.
We can't just end it?
No. There's too many vested interests by global finance in the system as it exists now.
You better tell Creighton. I mean,
I'm saying, like, you could try.
I mean,
you could absolutely try, but I'm saying you don't want the world of global finance as your enemy. Look at Russia. I mean, all of his plans have absolutely devastated.
Why do you think I'm living in this apartment? Okay.
Coke dollars.
Yeah. I could have had a home, but I spoke out against Paul Wolfowitz, and it was all over for them.
Wolfie. I mean, heck of a job, Wolfie.
You could end it if you redistributed his powers to like an appropriate branch, like.
He's redistributing.
No, I get your point.
I mean, because you're not changing the system, you're just taking a level of bureaucracy out of it, so it's more direct, and that's easier to contain and control, especially when you're trying to introduce policies that's not, introducing policies on its own.
And what's funny is, like, this discussion's really interesting, because we actually, this touches on this conversation we had in a Facebook message
says
quite a week
appropriate
ago.
things to me. He's like, hey.
No, but, you look at this system and you say the foundational root cause is the Federal Reserve System, central banking, and fractional reserve banking. Taking that out in a fell swoop isn't going to happen. And I would argue, even if we did, it would be so destructive that it would cause such social upheaval to be a negative thing for liberty, for individuals. And, I mean, preventing a strong man from a situation where you essentially undercut all of central banking and global finance in one swift move, whoa. You're talking about literally martial law being implemented overnight.
But I'm all about compromise. Even like,
you are, and that's
2012 is like the compromise on like the women's rights issues. I was like, can we not just make birth control available over the counter? Which California just took a step into that because now there's an application you can download the phone and order your birth control through an app. So like they already took steps for that. It's like, why can't we compromise on issues like this? And it's like, especially with the wage, it's like, why can't we cut a compromise and say this is obviously what a lot of people want? And like, if you're a government, your job is the will of the people. Even as a libertarian, you don't agree with it because it violates a principle. The role of the government is to represent the people. If that's what the people want, it's the function.
Which was what was such an eye opener for me from that discussion is it's what I've talked to Spangle about before is how do we sell a negation? So like the libertarian message is, well, we just don't need that, or we need to get rid of this, or we need to get rid of that, and that scares a lot of people and it turns people off. The left libertarian, and this is what I drew from you, because you're a mutualist, but what you are more so than anything is you're pragmatic in the application of mutualism or like pursuing it as a goal. And we talked about minimum wage. We talked about changing the corporate structure, which is where I feel minimum wage really comes from, is when you have shareholder theory of value, that the shareholders are who every CEO answers to. In order to get maximum profits to distribute dividends to the current shareholders, you can't justify raising the wage, especially when you have Wall Street and analysts that put all the pressure in the world on you to hit quarterly earnings. So if you change it from where it's not a public corporation, and perhaps it's a LLC or it's a private corporation, or however you go about doing that, then that CEO can look long-term and not just be worried about how the heck am I going to meet our earnings statement in the next 3 months. I got an idea. We're going to drop wages across the board.
And that's a lot of S and C corps. That's how they run.
That's what we're talking about.
Like they run any financial decision in a corporation that big is not only from the board of directors, which represent the stockholders. It's multiple things from like investment bankers to all the way through Wall Street, all the way through Main Street. This is what we want because this is where our profits are.
This is where we can maximize profit.
And like you have like actuaries, like lines of actuaries that work in the company that you have an entire department that do nothing but crunch numbers from like quantitative years and say, okay, this is where we can cut here to say like this guy gets 2% more in stock value, and that makes more people buy stocks, so we can buy more stuff. So you'll see this. It's always usually in the form of like, well, where you can decrease things. They can't decrease things on like production or purchasing. You know, if it's a lumber company, they're going to get lumber from maybe 4 manufacturers. They're all going to be the same. You know, so you can't cut costs on purchasing agreements. That's already been out. So you can reduce like benefits packages. Oh, 401ks, we'll definitely nail that out. Or we'll redo your health care. We'll put it from like instead of the United Health over the Anthem. Or then it starts going with wages. Oh, you know, do we really need to pay like people $12 an hour to like shuck steel onto these cars or whatever, or build these things?
Well, that's where the staffing companies come in.
And that's exactly how they get around it. It's like, because if you're employed through the staffing company, not the corporation, they don't have a liability to give you under state law or federal law, like health care insurance, 401k.
Those are all provided through the staffing
because
company.
They give you a runaround. So basically, like, your effective wage as a flat $10 an hour is basically worth less than minimum wage compared to what you would get as a benefits package if you were a full-time employee. And then they get around it by saying, oh, you need to work 90 days before you're a full-time employee. You're late like 1 minute once, they won't do it. And they can lay you off at any time. You're not a full-time employee. Like, well, okay, you're...
And that's not the fault, though. The thing is, that's not the fault of the corporation. The corporation is legally allowed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The government creates the system where or the rules within which the corporation operates.
And these staffing companies are some of the fastest growing stocks.
Yeah.
It's the fastest growing industry, fastest growing stocks, flocking investors, just giving them more capital to hire people. You know, it's nothing illegal about it. And
the nature of employment needs to probably change.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your expectation is you're going to get your benefits, your 401k, your retirement through your employer, that was all brought about by FDR because they had a restriction on wages during the run up in the Great Depression, World War II, so they had to start offering benefits. Otherwise, we'd never have this system where your employment's tied to the corporation, your health insurance tied to the corporation. If we had never instituted a wage ceiling, then everyone would have been in charge of their own.
It's almost like cringeworthy when I can look at these. You know, like every city has like their own like yard sale group. You know, it's like doing ourselves, whatever. There's always like someone that posts like day to day. It's like, hey, I need a job, and it's full of like NTK is hiring, Aurora Parts is hiring, like all these factories, like $10 an hour. And this one person's like, damn, $10 an hour is a lot of wage. And I'm like, I'm laughing at that. I'm like, you really think $10 an hour is a lot?
Yeah, but when your wage is $0 an hour, of course it is.
I mean, of course, but it's just like, even at $10 an hour, okay, you get like 363, like 400, like at the end of the week after tax, you get taxed so much because of that.
I want to ask you, because you're a computer nerd, I imagine you're familiar with the singularity, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the singularity. Computing power eventually reaches the human brain. Your average $1,000 Mac computer in 40 years reaches... Fine machine. Great machine. Love it. In 20 years reaches the capacity of all human brains. And at some point, robotics become the name of the game. I mean, and some tech people anticipate 50% unemployment. Because what skills do people functionally have? And it's just cheaper for a corporation to hire a robot.
I told Greg, it's like security. Human security goes up. It is a lot easier for me to steal from a robot than it is for me to steal from you.
Okay.
Let's say like this computer was like software and this was like a security system, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do tech. I know every computer system has flaws. Either programming flaw, hardware flaw, whatever. Your only flaw is like you might fall asleep. You know?
That is my only flaw.
Like,
You're right. Thank you.
Humans are very alert. Humans are very, they can watch multiple things. A computer can only function for what you can program it to function with.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, whatever this AI's function is, it's programmed to say, okay, you're a guard robot. So you pace between point A to point B to point C back to point A. If there's any irregularities to the programming, then you report it, sound off an alarm. But if I knew that, if I knew like this robot that here at this McDonald's that guards the cash register goes from point A to point B to point C, and I know how it works with like a logarithmic pattern, I can override that, rob the entire store, and
okay,
I'm done. Like, it's.
But what happens when the computer has the ability to program itself?
When I was a program, I guess like I'm calling Sarah Connor, dude. Like, even if they do program themselves, it's like there's a lot of flaws that are in machines, even self-aware machines that humans don't have. EMPs, even if they guard against EMPs, there's certain like solar flares can function in a different way that can mess up machines. grounding can mess up machines, programming faults, even
Power surge.
Yeah, even programming over time, like it creates like a redundancy. If it has a redundancy over it, it would just end up crashing anyway. So even if you increase technology, you're just increasing the security for human security. You're increasing like tech things. So you're shifting the job labor market from here to here. It's like hundreds of years ago, we had people with like pickaxes like slamming rocks to get coal out. But now we have machines to do that. But what do we have instead? All these people who are slamming rocks are now driving these machines.
Mm-hmm.
So did we lose any jobs? Some people say, yeah, we lost these like coal miner jobs. Like, no, they just transitioned to other things.
So even as computers become self-aware and self-programming, human beings will adapt and will still maintain their mastership over machines because the labor market will evolve. That human labor, human capital, will always find a way to outmaneuver machines because
until they're self-aware.
We're more perfect beings. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if any machine comes for me, dude, like, all I know is, like, whatever, dude, like, I'm gonna blow it up. Like,
yes!
Alright, well...
That is the legitimate Sarah Connor answer.
Alright, I think that's about it.
That's how we should end
That's it. We can't get better than that.
No.
James Nease, always a pleasure. Please don't make it like another 50 episodes before you come back.
Yes, please do not.
So, we like to wrap up. You get a chance to talk about something that you didn't get a chance to talk about, something that you'd like to talk about. Go ahead. What do you want to say to the people?
I just want people to know, like, I got this sick Mercedes. Sick. You should see the photos of it online because it's a straight Saddam Hussein, like, ghetto blasting ride. And,
you can. I was posting photos to our Instagram account. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com. You can connect to the Instagram. We Are Libertarians is the Instagram.
And I encourage people to go get their IT degrees and certifications because, oh my god, dude, that job market's booming. Like, seriously, there's like, Indeed, there's like hundreds of those things. Like, and we don't have enough people to fill out. We have like 20 positions.
We had several people really inspired to join Linda, who turned us down for an affiliate sponsorship account.
So I said Udemy.
Thanks, Linda.
I said Udemy
so
the whole time.
Everybody go check out Coursera or Udemy. Or Code Academy, but not lynda.com. No, still
LinkedIn bottom.
LinkedIn bottom. They sold out, man.
Shares dropped 25% today, by the way.
The other thing that we got a lot of questions, and maybe you can help us answer this, James, from people. How do I help my kids learn to code? And there are some great apps out there. I wish I had them up in front of me, but you can find a list. If you just Google apps that help my kids code and you put that into the Google machine, it will spit out some answers. Minecraft is obviously a great thing too.
I mean, if like you're like a normal cool parent, you want your kid to code, you could probably start them off with like Active Perl and get like Perl programs, tutorials, how to like plug A to B to C to make arrays. If you're like a super like hardcore Asian dad where it's like, if my kid doesn't get straight A's, you could probably start them off in C++ and be like object oriented or nothing.
None of that made sense to anybody who was listening. We're user friendly here. Layman's.
You can, the best way to learn is to dive in, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
You can have all the like apps you want, but unless you can like actually understand the mathematics of it. I would say if you want your kid to learn to code anything beyond simple like JavaScript, you should probably like teach your kid how to do math. Like, I guarantee if you do not know how to do math, they're not going to do well in coding. So you can't be like, my kid's like, oh, you can do some JavaScript, but you got a D- in algebra. I was like, that kid is going to be working at McDonald's and be one of the issues that I'm talking about all the time.
No comment. F you.
You work at Bob. If you get at least a C in math, you work at Bob and Tom.
You better be funny as hell.
I mean, not even like Stucker and Steve on the weekend stuff on the other channels, Bob and Tom.
Now, alright, so Coursera, Udemy, Learn.com, Code Academy, Code School, any of that. Check it out. See if they got something for you or your kids. Check it out. Take Niece's advice. Greg?
All I was going to say was the Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday about the state's ability to ban gay marriage and whether or not states had to recognize the gay marriage. And so it's going to be an interesting decision. I would guess, if I had to guess, I would say, I just have a feeling this court's going to come down 5-4 and we're going to see the states getting to decide it and states not having to recognize homosexual marriage if they have to move for work or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I feel that way, but I just do. This is one of those times where I'm a bit conflicted that I feel like we need a federal level definition of Marriage Act.
Mm-hmm.
Just So we can clarify the equal protection clause, maybe, because it's clearly getting its butt kicked. I'd love to see it where it's just human and human. And the real scary part is Alito brought up the question of, what if 4 highly educated attorneys decided they wanted to get married? That posed quite the issue for the Solicitor General, and that kind of told me that the way the court was leaning was we're going to see it where states get a pick. So watch out for that.
I mean, well, it's like, like, I want 20 wives and a goat, dude. Like, I'm going to old school, like, Syria on this.
Well, the goats can't sign a contract, so they're out.
You think I can't make
They can be
sign?
part of the dowry, but they can't actually enter into the contract.
You think I can't make them sign?
No, but I'd say to keep an eye on that, because I'd say if this goes to the states and this is settled U.S. law, my God, we're talking about a long time before we get civil unions or gay marriage in the United States on all 50 states.
All right, for mine.
Never get up here. Nope.
So you were dressed, James Nease, in skull cap, gray skull cap, a vest. You've got a nice flannel shirt on with an undershirt, gray undershirt, very hipster-esque. Tight jeans, I presume. I didn't look at your
I mean,
jeans.
I'm wearing
Khakis.
Dockers. Okay, well, I'm wearing the tie-dyed and gym shorts. Greg, describe what you're wearing.
Do I have to?
You have to, yeah. My wrap-up is all about you.
So I did this troll. So I've been called a frat boy 3 times in a week. So I was called a frat boy first by you last Thursday.
Right.
I was then called a frat boy by chicks on the right, which screw you guys and I hope you all die. Both, not all. And then I was called a frat boy by you in the chat.
Greg's...
And so I said, Strangle, watch out. I'm going full on frat boy. So I have...
That's not Keystone White.
Well, I was going to bring PBR.
No, he's got Two Hearted Ale, which is
Hearted.
hipster beer.
Sort, yeah. But so I have a Seersucker Kentucky Derby Vineyard Vines hat on. I have on a pastel pink button-up shirt. I have on a Nautica pullover, specifically for sailing because it's something about wicking water away. And then navy blue shorts and then Sperry's. So I came fully fratted out
No
for
socks.
you.
No
of course
socks.
not.
Never socks.
Somebody that doesn't dress like that would have to go out and buy that, but I'm pretty sure you just picked it out the front of your closet. Dude.
Right.
No, it was
Right,
the front.
like you
It was the
wear
front.
this.
I actually had to wash it. It's not because it was dirty. It's because I haven't worn it in so long. I was like, I better wash this.
It's been 2 weeks since I wore it. Like, just
3.
You never trust a man who doesn't wear socks, honestly. So a friend recommended Lara bars, which happen to be, I have chocolate chip cookie dough here. They're gluten-free, non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, kosher, and made with fair trade certified
like
chocolate.
halal.
These, what did you say?
Yes.
Are they halal?
What does that
Halal.
mean? What? What does that mean?
Like a mirror off the top.
Right, I know, but listeners don't know that.
Oh, is it approved for Muslims?
I don't know. I don't know, but this is chocolate chip cookie dough. It tastes like, here, you got vegan, non-GMO, chocolate.
You know what I like about it? It's not real sweet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I like
Yeah.
about
It tastes like
dough.
chocolate chip cookie
It's
dough.
all garbage. It's not halal.
I feel like I just ate pork as a Muslim. No, that's actually solid.
It's made of dates and cashews.
It's not, but it doesn't have that overwhelming sweetness.
Mm-mm.
No,
No.
it's good. You know what? Hey, I applaud you.
Listen, here. I'll take one with you. Take the box
No, I'm
with
not
you.
gonna take it with me, but I'll buy some.
All right.
Those are way better than granola bars.
I know. See?
Wow,
All right.
interesting.
That's the last time you make fun of me for my gluten-free,
Good
non-GMO,
old people
vegan,
do.
dairy-free,
Good
kosher.
Although, can we take a picture of your spice rack? Even Nease brought it up.
Niece is like that. I have nothing but organic spices. I have...
Montreal steak, organic.
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 You know how many Thai kids had to die to make that?
I have he made fun of my organic canola oil.
He did.
Oh, nice sriracha, bro. Rolling in here with a 44-ounce Coke from Speedway.
Yeah, right.
That's American.
How hipster is that? Although Irvington isn't hipster.
What?
It was way before. Irvington predates hipsterism by years.
All right, well, that is enough of this. We had quite a show.
No, I love it.
Hey, bro.
We love having you on, James. Glad you could be here. That was quite a ride you gave us, James. All right, thank you for joining us here on We Are Libertarians for